here to help you with breeze. Planting seeds and teaching skills. Teachers turn schoolyards to dreams. Oh, hey, school gardens with ease.
Happy Spring Equinox! It's almost here. Start of spring is such an important event for us gardeners, isn't it? It's so exciting. But before you let your horses run wild and go get your gardens ready and cleaned and cleared and everything, I'd suggest that you listen to this episode first. You're listening to School Gardens with Ease podcast. I'm Leila Mireskandari, your host, and this is episode number 41. My apologies for not showing up with an episode last week. I was actually delivering gardening supplies for my Oasis programs to local schools last Friday. I wanted to finish earlier than that, but things turned upside down in my household actually last week, with my husband ending up in the hospital and having to go through an emergency surgery. It was a little bit crazy around here. No worries, he's all good. But that's essentially why the deliveries were delayed, and releasing a new episode last Friday became essentially an impossibility. In any case, I'm back with another episode for you this week, all about spring cleaning of school gardens. Now, one of the big mistakes people make, especially in colder climates like zones, 5 and below, is cleaning up their yard way too early in the beginning of spring. As soon as the spring is officially here and, the weather starts showing signs of warming up, as soon as the snow starts melting a little bit, I see everyone starting to clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up, clean up. My heart breaks every time I see a rake at the wrong time of year, because I get super worried for all those little creatures we so rely on for the health of our gardens, because many of them take shelter under the leaves and, the dead vegetation that's remaining from last summer. Can you guess what's another wrong time of year to do cleanup? At the end of summer, because then the beneficial insects won't even have anywhere to overwinter. Now, don't get me wrong, I think cleaning up and being tidy in a garden, especially an annual garden, is super helpful, especially at the end of the school year when you are actually leaving for your summer. You need to make sure that your tomatoes are pruned and your soil surfaces are all mulched and covered, your trellises are all up, and your plants that need trellises are neatly hung on those trellises, etc., etc. So being neat and being tidy and being clean is super important at that time. And you must also select the right plants for the school garden and the right timing for them, as you've probably have heard me advise you on this a million times before, so that there is no cleaning chore required during summer. You don't want a dirty garden during summertime, because if you constantly have the wrong plants like cherry tomatoes ripen and fall and make a mess during summer when there's no one there to harvest them or clean them up, you'll be inviting pest and disease to your garden. Now, side note here, I'll be soon releasing and opening registration to a brand new class on how to grow school gardens with almost no summer maintenance. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll put the link in the show notes when that's released. Now, getting back to the topic, I am a huge fan of being neat and clean in a garden as long as it's at the right time and at the right place. I am, definitely not a clean freak in the garden, and I suggest you to not be one as well. And I truly believe that cleaning at the wrong time, at the wrong place, hurts the health of your garden big time. And one of those wrong times is early spring. You know what my mom told me the other day? She said, Layla, I saw something so cute the other day when I was cleaning the garden containers. And immediately I cringed And my brain started screaming, no, not now. Please don't tell me you already did that. She doesn't have a yard, like she doesn't have a big garden. Her garden is a few, raised beds and containers in her balcony because there's really, honestly, not much to clean up anyway. So I was like wondering, what is she talking about? And before I could open my mouth to say anything, she continued with the story. As she said, as soon as I cleaned that second bed on that side, I saw so many ladybugs sticking together and attaching to each other in the corner of the bed under those things that I was cleaning up. It was so cute, she said. And of course, the first thing that came to my mouth was, and what did you do then? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, did you cover them back up and let them be? She's like, well, I let them be, but I threw away the garbage. I was there to clean up and I wanted to finish the job. I was like, Mom, what you call garbage is their shelter. Didn't it occur to you when you saw them like that they were actually hiding from the cold under there? Don't you want them to survive so they, help you for your garden in your garden during spring and summer? Well, of course, she felt bad, but it was too late anyway. And she's my mom. I mean, she should have been hearing me talking about this stuff all the time. I mean, she should be tired of me talking about these things all the time. But this clean freak culture is so prominent. So don't fall into that trap. Most of the time with yards and bigger gardens, we might not even see the beneficial insects that we are hurting by, cleaning up too early. You don't have to see them, like my mom did. Just trust me, they're there. And they need their shelter untouched until the weather gets better so they can come out and, resume their normal life. When will it be the right time to clean up, you ask? Well, as I said, the best time to clean up, in my opinion, is actually when you have done all your, planting and everything and you're leaving for your summer vacation. And you're probably thinking, but how are we going to plant in such a big mess? Well, okay, depending on the state of your garden, you might need to clear up the garden a little bit, to make room. For example, if you left all your big plant stems and, in the garden from last year, like for example, your dead tomato plants or your zucchini vines and things like that are sticking out and all over the place. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with doing that. The only thing I encourage my schools to clean up before winter is sunflower stems. And I'm talking about the big, sunflower types, because those are thick and very hard and could be a hazard, a danger to kids playing around them in wintertime, especially with snow on the ground. And that's for safety, not for cleanliness. Okay. So if that's the case and you have all those plants there, you should take the students out to cut those away and to make room for your new garden. But remember that this year's tomato plants won't go out in the garden before your last frost date anyway. For example, for us here, our last frost date is usually around mid-May. So we have plenty of time to make room for, this year's tomatoes. And yes, there are other cool crops that you can plant earlier than that. I get it. But you should at least wait until you see some bees and other insects flying about. That tells you that they have woken up or they are waking up soon and it's safe to, clean and clear. You know what I mean? So be considerate. You can even turn this idea of not cleaning the garden too early into a science lesson for your students, teaching them about biodiversity, beneficial animals and insects of the garden, their needs, and why we should wait till later in the season to clear out our gardens. Now, imagine what a lively and intriguing lesson that could be. Opening your students' eyes up and teaching them consideration, working with nature, critical thinking, and not accepting social norms as they are, just, to question things and to think for themselves. This could become way more than just a science lesson, actually. I'd say delay cleaning and clearing as much as possible. Don't be a clean freak in the garden because that's the same as being a murderer. Oh, Layla, you're so dramatic. Well, Think about it. It's true, isn't it? Don't be a murderer, especially if you want your school garden to flourish with buzzing bees and butterflies and ladybugs and all those beautiful insects in the spring and summertime. Let's be considerate, kind, and smart. And let's teach next generation how to work with nature for their own benefit. Happy spring! I'll talk to you next week in another episode. You've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please share this episode with other teachers who might be interested in this topic. See you next week for a new episode.